All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, I remember thinking to myself when the New Orleans Pelicans first were able to acquire DeMarcus Cousins that if they're able to make this work, they're going to be pretty unstoppable across the entire NBA, not even just the Western Conference. Because when we think back to the history of the league, whenever there's been a team that has been able to have two of the top three best centers in the NBA, they've almost always advanced at the very least to the Western Conference Finals, challenged for a championship, or won the championship. I believe that even the Zach Randolph-Marc Gasol pairing almost got to the finals. Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon were able to get to the finals. Of course, they were not able to defeat the 86 Celtics, but they were actually able to win 2 games. The David Robinson-Tim Duncan pairing, they were able to win 2 titles. So whenever you have 2 top centers on the same team and they enjoy playing with one another or they learn how to play with one another, they're going to be a very, very tough out. And had DeMarcus Cousins not gone down with that Achilles tendon injury last year, the New Orleans Pelicans would have been a very, very tough out no matter who they would have played, even Golden State. Because it would have been very difficult for Golden State to match up against DeMarcus Cousins as well as Anthony Davis. Because I think that they felt a little bit of the same thing that I was able to perceive last season. That being that had they gotten into their groove, they would have had a lot of these teams' numbers. Remember that when DeMarcus Cousins went down to that Achilles tendon injury, they were playing against the Houston Rockets, a fully healthy Rockets team with Chris Paul and James Harden, a team that might have lost 4 games the entire regular season last year with both those players on the court at the same time. They were one of the few teams that were able to defeat that team in the regular season when they were fully healthy. And I think that they could have went on a magic carpet run in the playoffs had DeMarcus Cousins not gone down. Once again, when we look at the history of the league, whenever you've had teams with 2 great centers that knew how to play well together, they were almost always a serious threat to whoever. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Nothing but smiles for Boogie Cousins since he returned to the court as a Warrior. So many eyes, guys, right, on how he would look after rupturing his left Achilles last season. DeMarcus, of course, not been shy about expressing his displeasure with the Pelicans, though, and management for not retaining him this past summer. And just this week, he told The Athletic that he still wonders what if when it comes to Anthony Davis. I think about our pairing all the time. Me and AD talk about it. It's expletive up. I don't think he used the word expletive. That's just my read on the situation. It could have been something great, something special, but other people had different things in mind. That's out of our control, and you never know what will happen later on down the line.
To be quite honest with you, DeMarcus, I'm still a believer that if Anthony Davis wanted you to be there, that you'd be there. But who knows? Maybe he does not have as much clout as I attribute to him. But I think that if Anthony Davis were to have walked into that front office and told the GM, look, you're going to keep Rondo and you're going to keep DeMarcus and I'm going to stay, that they would have kept you guys. I think that Anthony Davis kind of pulled the LeBron. He was unwilling to promise the front office that he was going to stay. That's assuming that he even went to the front office in the first place to inquire about why they would let you and Rondo go. I think that either he did not want you guys there or he was unwilling to provide the commitment to the front office that they would have required in order to keep you guys.
I do want to note, guys, that not only did Boogie leaving Louisiana affect the Pelicans, we lost one of our favorite shows here at the Jump, Boogie and the Brow. That was very upsetting.
Oh, you got it back, though. Look at you clever thing.
Do you think, though, Trace, the Pelicans are going to regret, now that we've seen Boogie, because the big question was, will he be able to come back at all? Will he be able to come back and be himself? There's disagreement between Dell Demps and Boogie over exactly what was offered or not offered. But they clearly didn't offer.
Well, of course, Dell Demps is going to say that now because it looks as if Boogie Cousins is most likely going to be a member of a championship team. I don't think that Dell Demps thought that Boogie Cousins would have wound up on the Warriors. And then on top of that, David Stern comes out and talks about a potential trade that could have been made, 7-8 years ago involving Chris Paul, and calls Dell Demps one of the worst GMs in basketball. So that added insult to injury.
Didn't offer him some big, huge deal. I mean, we know that. He would have taken it.
Right.
So do you think they're going to regret?
I don't know what the offer was, but however, they should have made this work. Because the two of these guys reminded me of 2 big men like Tim Duncan and David Robinson playing with each other. They're just smart basketball players that dominate inside, that one dominate outside.
They were growing together also.
It was just a problem for defenses night in and night out. And they're so skilled. Not only can they score the ball, I mean, they both can pass. Got great defenders, great rebounders. I mean, they were killing guys in the interior. And I just think it's a shame that they couldn't make this work. Yes, we had, some problems or speculations of will he come back as a player. And I think he did a great job of keeping himself in great shape. He's not a guy that's extremely athletic that can jump, so that wasn't going to affect him at all. But, I mean, he's just such a skilled big man. I just thought they should have made it work. And
Right, but Tracy McGrady, it's a totally different scenario when you're asking Boogie Cousins, who's known as being a cantankerous, pugnacious, belligerent character, to come back into your locker room and assist a team that's going to be a borderline playoff team, as opposed to the Golden State Warriors, who are only going to ask him to play 15 to 20 minutes a night, give them whatever he gives them. He's a bonus. They're already favored to win the championship. So, of course, once again, it's going to make the New Orleans Pelicans and Dell Demps look bad how Boogie Cousins has rebounded on this team. So, I mean, it's like saying to yourself, I should not have ended the relationship with my ex because now she's with a guy who's very successful. You shouldn't make important decisions based on how something might end up for the other person in the first place. You have to be thinking about what's best for you and why you're doing it. Because if you're thinking about that down the line, that means that you ended the relationship for the wrong reason in the first place. So Dell Demps can't be thinking like that.
She's over here fidgeting. I don't think she agree with me.
I don't think so at all.
I'm happy for him because he might win a championship this year.
Right. So he's in a better situation.
For sure.
The New Orleans Pelicans did exactly what they should have done.
Agreed.
And that's because even when they were healthy, how much did they win, Tracy? What place were they in? No.
They were about a 500 team, but they were surging. To Tracy's point, they were surging.
No, but this is what, if you're the New Orleans Pelicans and you were going to max out Boogie or pay him a ton of...
Wow, look at the numbers. One guy's averaging 25 a game, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. The other guy's averaging 28, 11 rebounds, 2 assists. Wow.
Ton of money. And then pay AD. You have nothing.
First pair of teammates to average 25 points and 10 rebounds per game. Wow.
Nothing left to contend for a championship. So as good as they might have been together, they were just the same or even a little bit better at times once Mirotic came aboard.
Well, to Jackie's point, the team definitely took off once Mirotic came on board, but they kind of played a different style of basketball. He basically was a stretch four who provided more room for Anthony Davis down low.
And AD and Mirotic have accomplished in a different way much of the same things, and yet, guess what? It's the same problem. They still don't win enough. But they have a chance to maybe sign someone. If you gave Boogie all that money, you're tapped out. And you got those two guys, and where are you going?
Listen.
I will.
She said, I am, because I know you have nothing to say.
With Boogie, what the Pelicans were able to accomplish last year, winning the playoff series without Boogie, do you understand how great they would have been with a healthy Rondo on their team as a starter or backup or however they were going to play that, and Drew Holiday? That is your piece right there. Now all you have to do is just surround these guys with shooters. You have the foundation for your team with these two guys and in the leadership of Rondo and an emerging all-star as Drew Holiday.
But see, I agree with you.
I'll say this about the Pelicans thus far this year. It's kind of tough to gauge how good their team is because they've had so many injuries so far. Elfrid Payton has missed a lot of time. Anthony Davis has missed a lot of time.
The bigger problem for me that New Orleans did was they should have brought Rondo back.
Well, yeah, I think everyone on this show agrees with that.
So if you want to talk about that, I'm all with you.
Right, but I'm including if you keep DeMarcus, Rondo is not going anywhere if you have those
But if you
guys.
keep DeMarcus...
You're speaking hypothetically, though, Tracy McGrady, because you're assuming that New Orleans wanted Rondo back. I'm still of the belief that the reason why they let Rondo go is because something was rotten in Denmark in that locker room. And they're not going to let you know. Anthony Davis is not going to let you know because he likes to play the nice guy role. He does not want to be controversial in public. But once again, if you're Anthony Davis, widely considered to be the next best player in the NBA. When I say the next best player, I don't mean number two. I say that to mean that he's prognosticated to be the player who's going to take over for LeBron James once they're finished calling LeBron James the best player. For them to not take into account what Anthony Davis wants, if going by your theory that Anthony Davis actually wanted him back, it just makes no sense. Just hypothetically going by the theory that Anthony Davis actually wanted him on the team, it just makes no sense. It's not jibing. Something was wrong there. Either Rondo and Anthony Davis were not getting along, or the front office does not really regard the wishes of Anthony Davis because he's not willing to commit to the team for many years after the end of this current contract.
I guess it costs you too much money. Mirotic doesn't make anywhere near the money. Just look at the numbers with Mirotic and AD.
But wouldn't you argue that the cash strap situation is partly due to the contracts that they gave out before Boogie Cousins even got there? So that's what put them
all fine.
That's what put them partly in that position. I'm interested to see what happens because, look, as you point out, New Orleans Pelicans right now aren't even in the playoffs, right? AD is out, we know, for at least a little bit. That's going to hurt them. You know, it's going to come time this summer. We've been talking about it because it's going to happen. Not because we want it to happen, but because our job is to tell you what is going to happen. They will offer him a supermax, and right now, the indication seems he's not going to want to sign up for 5 more years of this.
Now, did you guys hear what Rachel Nichols stated prior to actually reporting this information? She said not because we want it to happen, but because it seems as if it's going to happen. In other words, the members of the mainstream liberal sports media, they are aware that the listening and viewing public at large are starting to propagate the notion that the media wants Anthony Davis to end up with the Lakers because the media wants to help out LeBron James.
So then he will end up having the lead. And if you were in New Orleans and you look back and Boogie really does have, we don't know yet. Look, Isaiah Thomas came back in the middle of last season. He looked good for a few games and then he struggled a bit. So we don't know what's going to happen with Boogie. But if Boogie finishes out this season looking like he's looked in these first couple games, you got to think if AD does turn you down for that Supermax, having had that big star here, having had Rondo there, would you have felt like you did everything you could? And I don't know which is the right decision.
No shit.
I will play
all these
devil's
decisions
advocate.
have consequences.
But I will play devil's advocate. Let's say you keep Boogie, and he doesn't come back till when did he come back? January. So how much worse off would the Pelicans be with no Mirotic in essence? So you're in lottery land, and then he comes back, and now you're going to ask him to do a little more than you probably should with a guy who's a very big guy coming off an Achilles injury. The thing that's best about Boogie.
Those are the best points that have been made thus far. If you don't let Cousins go, or if you're not thinking about letting Cousins go, say for example, had Dell Demps thought about including Cousins in their long-term plans, they don't trade for Mirotic, and then they're bringing Cousins back with all of this pressure on him to perform like the old DeMarcus Cousins before the injury, and it just was not going to work out for anybody involved. It just wasn't.
Boogie for him now, he's in the perfect situation.
Absolutely.
Perfect. They need a big guy to do that. He doesn't need to play a ton of minutes. He's a great facilitator. He's perfect for the team he's on. To project that to how he would be with the Pelicans, to me, is a mistake.
I agree.
You're in lottery land. Right? You have these big guys on your roster. Trade that pick, get you some shooting.
Well, that's true because you wouldn't have if you hadn't done the trade for Mirotic, then
all fair.
obviously you still have that first round.
It works out.
He could go back.
That's a pretty good retort, Tracy McGrady. Tracy's saying if you're in lottery land, just trade that pick for some shooting, and then you bring back Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, Drew Holiday, and Rajon Rondo. That's not a bad retort.
Backwards
We
so
love
far. You know, look. The bottom line is that whether they made the right decision or not, all these decisions have consequences,
They do.
and that bill is going to come due this summer, one way or the other. We'll see what happens. Jackie, thank you so much for joining.
That's not a bad retort at all, because what McGrady's basically saying is that you were not a championship level team anyway with Mirotic. So if you don't trade for Mirotic, you just wait on Cousins. You have Anthony Davis already. You keep Rondo. You have Drew Holiday. And you just trade that first-round draft pick that you would get, or that lottery pick for not making the playoffs last year, for some shooting. And then say by the 2019-2020 season, you should be ready to go. It's interesting. Anyway, peace.